This is my story of how I fell for a man who wasn't even real. He lied about everything: his name, his age, his job, his family, his entire life. I was in really deep, and I'm currently pregnant with our child. I'm due in a week. But we had made plans for our future and our life together, but it was a future that was built on the foundation of all his lies. I had no idea who I was really dealing with. He created a world of fake accounts and fake people and fake stories, and was manipulating me in ways that I couldn't even see, and the lies were so fucking big that when I realised, they really rocked my entire reality. So now I'm ready to share everything, and how he's conned me, and how he gaslighted me, and how he's been doing this for years to other women. And I know you're going to wonder, how didn't I see it? Was I blind? But before you judge me, just hear me out, because this could happen to anyone, and I'm about to expose the truth. So wait for part 1 of my story coming soon.
Part 1. The way I'm going to do this story is I'm going to take you right back to the beginning, and I'm going to tell it in the timeline of how it unfolded and how it happened for me. So we're going to go right back to the start. If you're like me and you're impatient, just do that. How you can click the playback speed and double it. Just do that so that I speak really fast and you can get through the video as quickly as possible. I'm going to try and keep it short, but it's very hard because there's so much to the story and it's all very important, and I want you to get the full experience, you know what I mean? Okay, so I met him on a dating app at the end of 2023. I was only on the dating app for like a week and a half, but I was actively dating. I was looking for somebody to settle down with and start my life with and build a future and build a family and all the rest of it. So I met him as Marcus. He told me his name was Marcus. His name obviously is not Marcus. He has many names actually: Paul, Paulie, D'Artagnan, Sam, Ryan, Docs, Antonio. He went by many names. Marcus is what I knew him as. He told me he was 32 years old and that he was a civil engineer in Dubai, that he had returned to Australia for the Christmas holidays and was returning to Dubai in February of 2024. And I was like, yeah, cool, whatever. I thought that was the truth. I was like, yeah, that's cool, awesome. He was very knowledgeable about civil engineering, which he studied when he was in the military. So he told me he was in the Australian Defence Force, went in the Australian Defence Force when he was 18 years old, was shipped off by his parents, Latoya and Henrik Bennett, also not real people, with his 4 brothers. So he told me he had 4 older brothers named Sam, Henrik, Edgar and Paul, all of which are not real people. And it was believable because he had photos in his military uniform, which I later found out were just costumes that he had hired and that he had put on and posed in, and he had stories of his life in the military. He knew he was studying to be a pilot, so he was in the Air Force, Australian Air Force, apparently. But he had stories, about his time there and about his job in Dubai. So I had no reason to think that he was lying about all of this. He told me his parents were Latoya and Henrik Bennett, that they lived in Sanford. We started dating. I wasn't super interested in him at the start. He wasn't really the type of guy I would usually go for. I've never dated an Islander guy before. I never go for them. I stay away from them because I grew up around them. I don't know, they're just not the kind of guy I would usually go for. So it wasn't until we went on a few dates and that we had a conversation around emotional and mental maturity, and I am a deep and meaningful kind of person. I am not for small talk. I like deep and meaningful stuff. So when we connected on that level and we shared, what our expectations are in a relationship and what failed in past relationships that we did, and when we connected on that level, I was like, wow, this is really cool. It seems like a very genuine connection. I don't know where to go from here. Hang on.
Okay, here's your update. because I said I was going to do a part 2 and I haven't, because I have just been bombarded with messages. We all know that there's multiple other women out there that have come forward and shared their stories, 6 of which have had kids with him. 6. So he's got 6 other children that I've just learnt about. And 6, like, there must be more. There will be more, because he's been doing this for over a decade. For over 15 years he's been doing this. So I'm a bit overwhelmed. I'm not going to do the part 2 video anymore. I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'll still do it, but I'll do it tomorrow, because I'm just, oh my God, like, this is a wild story already. Before I found out about the 6 kids, it was already a fucked up story. But it just gets, oh my God, I can't believe it. But okay, I'll do the part 2 tomorrow, and I'll leave you with that. Okay, part 2. I'm going to continue on from part 1. We dated for like a year until before I found out that it was all lies. So I'll try and like move through that story as fast as I can, and then tell you how I found out who he was and how things went when I discovered all of that, because that's where all what the F moments are. So carrying on from part 1, we were talking and like going on dates and stuff at this stage, and you know, he's sharing with me like his most recent ex-girlfriend who like cheated on him, and it was really traumatic, and he went and saw a therapist, and I thought that was really great. You know, I was like, wow, he's really emotionally and mentally mature, like, you know, this is the kind of person I want to be with. By the way, I end up finding this ex-girlfriend later down the track when I discovered all of this stuff, and obviously what he said about her wasn't true. She had a restraining order against him. She was absolutely terrified of him. So yeah, we progressed in our relationship, and we decided like we would be committed to each other. We talked about marriage. We were like, we'll have a family, like, you know, let's build a future and a life together. He knew that's what I wanted and that's what I was looking for, so he played the part of that's what he wanted too. So that's why things progressed quickly, I guess. Like, I thought it was genuine. I knew that I was being genuine and my love was genuine, and I, you know, was telling the truth, so I just expected that he was too. So another important thing to point out is that he had 1 tattoo when I met him. He got all his tattoos within like 2 or 3 months, because he was trying to get them all done before he went back to Dubai at the end of February. So he told me that he was half Tongan, half Māori, that his dad was Māori and that his mum was Tongan, and that he was born in New Zealand and moved to Australia when he was 1 year old with him and all his 4 brothers. All of these people are not real people. And that he got his Australia citizenship when he came to Australia in the 90s as 1 year old. And that made sense to me. I was like, yeah, people do that. Like, a lot of Pacific Islander families have done that. And, you know, I thought it was impressive that his dad was also in the Defence Force and was a civil engineer too, and helped build the airport runway in Brisbane. Like, he had stories of his life and all the characters in his life, his parents, like his childhood stories, like he had stories of his whole life. So obviously you think it's real, because how does someone, like, I'm not thinking, oh, he's lying about that, you know. I'm like, wow, that's really cool, like, whatever. Okay, so that's why, yeah, I think that's important to share. Oh, because he got like Māori and Tonga, like a Māori tattoo, which is called a tāmoko. He got Māori tattoos, and I was like, well, obviously he is Māori, like that must be true, because he's got Māori tattoos. Like, why would you get Māori traditional tāmoko if you're not Māori? Like, it's a sacred thing, you know what I mean? You don't do that if, anyways. All right, so back to the story. He was due to leave to go to Dubai at the end of February. He decides, I'm going to stay until the end of March, because obviously, like, we're getting to know each other better. We're trying to plan a bit of a future, like, with how it looks, because he had a work contract for 5 years in Dubai and we wanted to be together. So we were kind of trying to figure out how that would look, because I have a son
I was like, you know, I'll come over to Dubai. Once you go back, I'll come over and suss it out. And if I want to move over, me and my son can move over, or like, we're trying to figure it out. So at the end of March, when he's about to go back to Dubai, when he's due to go back to Dubai, we find out that I'm pregnant, and we're absolutely thrilled. Like, because we said, if we get pregnant, we get pregnant. That's great. We'll just go with it. Whenever that happens, we'll leave it up to the universe, sort of thing. So I felt pregnant for the first time at the end of March. And we were happy. Like, he was like, this is my first child. I'm so excited. This is the first grandchild in the family. Like, at this point, his older brother, Henrik, adds me on Instagram to congratulate me and say how happy he is, how happy the family is, how much, they're so excited to meet me, because his family was traveling Australia in a camper van or something, which was believable because he was staging photos and like, he was showing me photos and I wonder who the people are in the photos and stuff now, but he would often video call with them and I'd be like, tell them I said hi, or I'd ask them how they were. Anyway, so his brother Henrik on Instagram messages me, congratulations sis, can't wait to meet you, we're so happy for you, extending the Bennett bloodline, which is what he told me their last name was, because his dad's Māori and that's a common Māori surname. Yeah, so I later come to find that this Instagram page is actually Marcus messaging me, and he used this page to message me because he fabricated everything, right? Like, that's why it was so believable, because he always had evidence, he always had photos and things to back up all his stories, so I had no reason to believe that any of it was not real or true. But his brother would message me and be like, hey sis, I'm going to come pick Marcus up, we're just going to go, because apparently his brother lived like about 25 minutes from my house in Main Beach or Miami Beach or something on the Gold Coast, all of which is not true. But he'd be like, I'm going to come pick my brother up, we've got, because they had a business, he had a civil engineer business with his brother's family business called Bennett Bros Designs. This had an Instagram account too, and an email, and like, I don't know where he got all the images from of like the projects that they had worked on that he showed me and stuff. But so where are we at now? We're at 3 fake Instagram pages so far. So he's got his own personal page, he's got Henrik the brother's page, and he's got the Bennett Bros Designs Instagram page, all of which are not real, because his personal page, I didn't know it at the time, I didn't have him on Instagram at that time, but it was under the name D'Artagnan Bennett, which is another name that I wasn't aware of. I only knew him as Marcus. I obviously didn't know that he was living this lie at this point. So yeah, his brother would message me off this page. I mean, he would message me as his brother off his Instagram page. I'm thinking it's the brother coming to pick him up, take him out for dinner, going to work on the projects for the civil design job. And it was just him. That's how because he had multiple other girlfriends and women that I've just learnt of during that time. And this is how he would organise to go out and see them, with me being okay with it, obviously, because I just thought he was with his brother or his friends. I'd quite often drop him off to his friends' places. I would see them, and yeah, like, he had photos with his friends and stuff, so I didn't think that he was out there cheating. Like, I genuinely thought he was hanging out with his brother. Okay, so find out we're pregnant, he's staying in, yeah, all right. I then lose that baby, so we have a miscarriage, I think around May, and we're devastated. Like, his brother messages me, I'm so sorry, like, mum and dad are upset, blah, 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 blah. Like, we go through the grieving process of that. Marcus seems really upset, and well, like, if it happens again, it happens. Yeah. I obviously fall pregnant again, and at this point too, he's living with me. I'm paying for pretty much everything. What's weird is that every now and then he would have money, but then he wouldn't, and it was just weird. Like, if he ran into money, he would tell me that his parents gave him money or his brother gave him money or something. But the reason why I was paying for everything at the start was because he told me, and this made sense at the time, so don't come for me. He told me that his money was tied up in Dubai and the ATO with Australia, which makes sense because if you live and work in another country, which I thought he did in Dubai, and you're in Australia for more than 3 months, you have to pay tax on the money that you bring in, and it's like a lot with the Australian ATO, the tax officers. So that was believable. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'll cover us. We're in a committed relationship. You know, I'll pay for things. That's what you do when you're with someone. Like, you sort all that out. When you get your money back, great. Like, you don't have to pay me back, but like, you know what I mean? Because that's what you do when you're in a relationship with someone. Okay, so I fall pregnant again with this little bubba, and we're like over the moon happy, absolutely thrilled, like, because it's what we really wanted, you know. And man, he played the part so well of this being his first child. Like, he seemed so genuine. Now that I've found out that there's 7 other kids now, by the way, now that I've found out that there's other children, I'm like, how did he play the part so well that this was his first child? He was so considerate. Like, you know, he wanted to come to all the appointments. He wanted to be really involved. Like, he was always asking me questions like, how can I support you? What do you need? Like, he was very caring and very nurturing, and like, yeah. I'm going to fast forward the story a little bit and jump to like when I go to New Zealand and when he goes to Dubai, because that's when things started, the red flag started showing at that point. So let me do that in part 3. So him having a twin brother was a very common story of his when he was in Melbourne before he met me. These are the photos that I was sent when I was doing my own investigations back in January and December. I don't even know who the little babies are, like those twin babies, because obviously it's not him. He doesn't have a twin brother. He photoshopped himself into these photos. One of these photos is a very terrible job. And then, look at this, he posted on his Instagram page a happy birthday post to himself, or to his twin brother. Like, look what he wrote. Like, he's so delusional. He is, yeah. It says, it explains itself. Who pretends they have a twin brother and then photoshops themselves into photos to make it look legit and send to girls and be like, this is me, my twin brother. You're crazy. Okay, part 3. So at this point in our relationship, I'm pregnant with this pregnancy, but it's very early on in the pregnancy. He was getting, like, so he had money when I met him, and then that's why I wasn't suspicious, because he had money when I met him, and then he must have ran out of money. And that's when he spun the story about the ATO and his money being tied up in Dubai. That made sense to me, because that's what would usually happen if you were in the situation he was telling me he was in. So everything he tells me is a lie. Just remember that when I'm telling you the story, okay? So yeah, when he ran out of money, he'd always have a story about, you know, it was the ATO and so I had no problem paying for things. And yeah, at this point I had forked out a lot of money at this point. His brother sent me this message around the time of his birthday, Marcus's birthday, and asked me to chip in to help pay for some of his tattoos, which I did. I sent like $400 or $500. Their grandmother had passed away. That's what he told me. Not true, but that's what he told me. And in our culture, because Marcus told me he was half Tongan, he's full Tongan, by the way, but he told me he was half Māori and half Tongan. I'm half Tongan myself, so I understand our cultural, like, you know, what we do in our culture, and that is, if someone passes away, if someone gets married or whatever, you contribute money to it. You help the family. So when he told me his grandma had passed away, obviously I felt devastated for him, because he was actually video calling his grandparents, and I could hear him when he was video calling them, and they were Tongan. He told me they were his grandparents, but they weren't. I later have found out that those were his actual real parents, but they barely spoke English, and they were traditional, like Tongan, very traditional Tongan people. So, oh my God, I feel like I'm getting off track, sorry. I sent more money
to him to send to his family. But obviously none of that was true. So like at this point I've forked out a lot of money. I'm paying for everything, like our rent and our bills and all of that sort of stuff, food. And I just thought, his money's tied up. But you know what was weird is that every now and then he would get influxes of money. I mean, maybe it was the money that I was sending to his brother. And also I think because during our whole year relationship, he was actively dating and actively talking to other women. So he had multiple other girlfriends. So I assume he got money from some of them as well. Okay, so now we are planning what we're going to do because I'm pregnant again. He's got to go back to Dubai very, very soon for work. And we're trying to decide what our future is going to look like. So this is what our plan becomes. He's going to go to Dubai at the end of October. I'm going to sell everything that I have in Australia because his parents have bought us an apartment that I will come back to after I do all of this. So I'm going to New Zealand. I sell everything. I close my business. I luckily keep my car and I end up being able to come back to that, but I sell everything else, close my business. And my plan is to go to New Zealand, see my family, let them know I'm pregnant. I met a great guy. Like, we're building a life together. You guys will meet him at Christmas time, meaning Christmas 2024. Marcus, apparently, his parents had bought us an apartment on the Gold Coast. So once I leave New Zealand, I go over to Dubai to meet up with Marcus, spend some time over there, see if I like it. If I like it, great. If not, we'll figure that out. But the plan is to go to Dubai for a few months, spend some time there, come back to Australia to have the baby, because if you're not married in Dubai and you want to have a child, it's a little bit complicated. So it was just easier. I didn't want to have the baby over there anyway. So the plan was to come back to Australia, move into this apartment that his parents had bought us, and have baby here. He would come over for the birth. I'd stay in Australia for a few months, and then I would, if I liked Dubai, I would move over to Dubai with the baby and my son and start building out life there. Like, I had plans to start a business over there. Funnily enough, the plans were to start a civil engineer equipment hire business, which is laughable because he's obviously not a civil engineer. He has no background in civil engineering, so he would have had no idea about it, because I said to him, you've got all that knowledge, so you know the machinery and whatnot, and I'll do the business admin stuff, and I'll stay home with the kids, and we'll raise our family, because we wanted to have more kids. So that was the plan. And when I get to New Zealand, that's where things slow, like there's a few red flags when I'm in New Zealand, and I'm starting to be like, that's very strange, because right now I'm under the impression he's got a 5-year work contract in Dubai that he's got sorted. His work provides an apartment and a vehicle for him, so I'm like, cool, we're sorted in that sense, and like life's looking pretty good. I feel like we've sorted things out, we've got this plan moving forward, and the future's looking bright. When I'm in New Zealand, that's when things start to get a bit weird, so I'll go into that in part 4. Just very quickly, there's probably some little details that I have forgotten within the story before I leave for New Zealand. So I leave for New Zealand in October, and Marcus leaves for Dubai in October. But there's some important stuff that I want to talk about that happened before that's probably important in the story, that I've got all the videos and photo evidence of. So I might do a live, or like in my subscriptions, I'll just post like filling in the blanks and the details and answering some of your questions and like the finer details, because they contribute to the overall story and unfolding of all the like lies and deception that I find once I'm in Dubai. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Okay, bye. Okay, I know I said that I was going to upload part 2 today, but I have been spending a lot of time with my son. I've just turned all my notifications off, and I've just been a bit mindful of everything. And just so you guys know, like I uncovered all of this in December, like all the lies and everything, and the story that I'm about to tell you happened, and I found out everything in December and January just gone. So I have had time to process it. It's not all really fresh. I mean, it is, but it's not as fresh. So I've had a lot of time to take care of myself. I did that today. I'm going to upload part 2 tomorrow. Okay, so my son goes back to school tomorrow. I'll have more of a clear mind, and I'll upload part 2 tomorrow. I promise you. So I'll see you guys then.
So him having a twin brother was a very common story of his when he was in Melbourne before he met me. These are the photos that I was sent when I was doing my own investigations back in January and December. I don't even know who the little babies are, like those twin babies, because obviously it's not him. He doesn't have a twin brother. He photoshopped himself into these photos. One of these photos is a very terrible job. And then, look at this, he posted on his Instagram page a happy birthday post to himself, or to his twin brother. Like, look what he wrote. Like, he's so delusional. He is, yeah. It says, it explains itself. Who pretends they have a twin brother and then photoshops themselves into photos to make it look legit and send to girls and be like, this is me, my twin brother. You're crazy. Okay, part 4. I'm going to try and do some video responses to some of the questions, like common questions that are coming up in the other videos. You know, because we spent a year together before I went to New Zealand and Marcus went to Dubai, so there's lots in there. And like I said, like you have to remember that this guy is a professional at what he's done. So, you know, like some of the questions that are being asked, I have, like, he proved to me like so many things within the story, like, and he fabricated a lot of his like evidence. Oh my god, excuse me. So yeah, like I'll answer some of the questions when I can, and I'll try and get these parts out like when I can. I'm super pregnant. I'm due in a few days. I need to be very mindful of my emotional and mental, you know, feelings at the moment. Like, as you can imagine, it's been so overwhelming finding out how many kids he does have, and the hundreds and hundreds of women that are in my DM sharing their stories with me. Yeah, like it's been a lot. So okay, I'll get into part 4. So Marcus flies to Dubai first, I fly to New Zealand. When I first get there, everything seems pretty fine. Like, Marcus paid for my flights to go to New Zealand. He paid for his own flights to go to Dubai. Where he got that money from, who knows? Probably other girlfriends. I'm in New Zealand, and Marcus says to me he's setting up his apartment, like with his work, because, you know, he's got a work contract there, and they provide an apartment and a vehicle. So he's sending me photos and videos of his apartment and his vehicle. And then he tells me, I've applied for you to stay with me at the apartment, but because we're not married, they've actually denied it. And this makes sense to me because the Dubai laws are very strict for couples that are not married. If you don't know about it, just Google it. Like, it makes sense that our application or whatever got denied. So he says, but don't stress, okay? We can just apply for like a rental apartment, and we can stay there for a couple of months. And I'm like, cool, okay. So he then asks me like for my verified copies of my ID, because you need that when you like applying for a rental. I didn't think it was suspicious that he was asking me for that. So I go off to a JP with my mum in New Zealand, and I get my passport verified. And a JP is just someone that can say that I am who I say I am. And she verifies my ID. I send like the little, you know, like passport photo things. I send that all off to him, which is a bit scary because he's asked for those for something, not the rental property, because that doesn't exist, but he's using that
for something. So yeah, then, you know, I am supposed to be in New Zealand for 2 weeks. I end up being there for 6 weeks because there's just all this crap going on. So basically he's like, my family's going to help pay for your health insurance, because he's like, you know, I want to make sure that when you're over here, if you need to see a doctor or anything for baby, like, you're covered. And apparently he's like sending me the cost of the health insurance, which is like $30,000 or whatever. And he's like, you know, I've just paid for this, for your health insurance, and my parents are helping pay the deposit for the rental property. So I just trust that he knows what he's doing and that he's got it all under control. My focus is spending quality time with my family, and, you know, I'm pregnant, so I'm not trying to stress about everything, and I just kind of let him organize everything. And then, you know, I felt bad that his family had forked out thousands of dollars, and he forked out thousands of dollars to pay for all of this stuff, because apparently, like, you've got to pay in advance for an apartment there, and that's like thousands of dollars. So anyways, I send more money to him. During all of this as well, he makes a new group of friends. He's going to like running clubs, and he's hanging out with this awesome group of people that he's met, sending me photos like while he's out and about with them. He goes to like multiple events with them, like he goes to the Dubai Sevens, he goes to like this Polynesian cultural day thing. And at this point, after, like, when I get back to Australia, I'm investigating all of this, and I find out a lot of stuff, and I speak to a lot of people that knew him over there, and he ended up staying with these people in their home, because obviously at one point he had no money left. He does end up getting more money. I don't know where he gets it from, but I have my suspicions once I found certain documents when I was investigating in Dubai. But yeah, he's in these people's home. When I spoke to the person, sorry, I'm trying to respect their privacy. I spoke to one of them, and they said, you know, he really overstayed his welcome, and it was quite uncomfortable, and like, you know, he like lived off of them basically. And when he's going to these events and stuff, one of them, their family members paid for, but he told them that he was a civil engineer. But remember, he's not employed at this point. Like, he doesn't have a job, he doesn't have money, he doesn't have an apartment in the car and stuff. I don't know what videos he was sending me, maybe one of the girlfriends that he had, because as soon as he got to Dubai, he was on all the dating apps straight away, and started dating girls actively, which I learned when I got back to Australia. This was like before the TikToks, I even knew that. So I always knew that there was other girls out there and potentially other children, but I didn't realize to this extent. Yeah, so he's sending me photos when he's out and about with all these lovely people. He asks me to bring over some New Zealand food, which I'm more than happy to do, because I know what it's like when you live overseas as a Kiwi, as a New Zealander, or just as anybody, and you miss the food that you get back home. So I was more than happy to bring food over for them, which I did. I spent hundreds of dollars, and I brought seafood and hams and chocolate, because I was under the impression I was going to come to Dubai and stay in mine and Marcus's apartment, and I'd be able to cook this food for, you know, his friends. And some of them I brought specifically for the friends that they had requested, but not to, like, they weren't demanding it, you know. He was offering, he was like, you know, he actually told them, my pregnant cousin is coming from New Zealand and she's going to bring some food. What do you guys want? I found that out when I got back to Australia, and also found out that when he went to the Dubai Sevens, because he went to a lot of events, I don't know if I said that already, baby brain, he went to Dubai Sevens and this Polynesian thing. When he was there with them, he had a different girl with him like every day of the Dubai Sevens, and he's messaging me and videoing me while he's at the Dubai Sevens. So yeah, I will do the next part and explain what happens when I get to Dubai, because that's where things just absolutely fall apart, and that's when I start finding out, like, I start questioning things a lot at that point. I'm fed more lies, but I start investigating, and that's when I discover his passport and all these documents that really freak me out at that point, because obviously I know him as Marcus, 32, civil engineer, blah blah blah, from New Zealand, Australian citizen. That's what I've got in my head. So when I find all of this stuff, that's when everything just falls apart. So I'll come back with that when I'm ready. In the meantime, I might do some video responses. But I've just got to be mindful, like I said in the beginning of this video, I've got to be mindful. I'm pregnant, I'm due very soon. I have a son, I have a life. I don't want this to consume me. All right, bye.